Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to this session, Are You Certified for the Future of Work? I am Subhashish, speaker for your session today. So allow me to introduce myself before we deep dive. Could I have the slides up, please? So a bit about myself before we deep dive into this session. So I'm a cloud solution architect, data and artificial intelligence at Microsoft. I primarily work with our customers and help them in their digital transformation journeys while leveraging Microsoft Azure platform, data services, and machine learning. I have worked with Oracle in the past and 4 Amazon Web Services consulting partners in India, in the US, and in China as well. An interesting fact about myself, well, I speak Russian fluently, having lived in Moscow for 5 years. So if any Russian language enthusiasts, expert level to specialty, 9 associate level, and 6 fundamental certification exams across different pillars. So you can see the lovely colorful Azure certification badges on the screen on the right-hand side. A quick look at our agenda for today. I want to touch upon 3 key things. Firstly, post-COVID, we'll try and understand the impact digital skills will have on an individual's career. Secondly, the significance of skilling to propel one's career. And it does not just stop at skilling merely, but rather the concept of upskilling and reskilling that is inherently necessary. We will look at how you could leverage different tools at your disposal to advance your own technology career in your desired direction for achieving success. And finally, a few facts from my own journey, some observations that I had and some learnings that I would like to show, and how I leveraged training and certification to pivot my own career at different points and junctures. So let's get started. Firstly, I'm sure you will agree with me that around the world, 2020 has emerged as one of the most challenging years in many of our lifetimes. So in 6 months, the world has endured multiple challenges, including a pandemic that has spurred a global economic crisis. As India reopens, it's crystal clear to all of us that the economy in January 2021 will not be what it was back in January 2020. Now, specifically speaking about its impact on women, the virus doesn't specifically target women, but it does impact some parts of the economy more than others. In fact, McKinsey recently did a detailed study and it noted that men and women tend to cluster in specific occupations, leaving women more vulnerable to the disruption caused by the pandemic in both developed and developing societies. Women's jobs are in fact 19% greater risk than men's, the report estimates. Nearer home, talking specifically about India, the pandemic has more than 3 out of 4 Indian learners to rethink their career path according to a very recent survey. So as we look into the future, we can draw insights from recessions in the past. Although recent recessions differed in their causes, each kind of follows a very common pattern or a trend wherein we see that, low-skill jobs are shed and gradually replaced with less automatable ones. So this pattern is poised to repeat itself, and with added emphasis on a jobs recovery that requires an increasing focus on digital skills. There are 2 reasons that appears likely. So let me just touch upon them. First, in the shorter term, COVID-19 will continue to lead to what we call unprecedented reliance on digital skills. Because in many situations, you will have workers who may spend several months or quarters or even longer in a hybrid economy, where some will be in a workplace while others continue to work from home. The shorter term hybrid economy is a more digital economy, right? So with continued consumer and employee focus on remote everything, we will expect digitization of the economy to continue to advance. And as companies and businesses respond to a recession of, let's call it, increasing efficiency, this will need for digital transformation to kind of grow and accelerate and increase even further. The second point is the economic recovery. It will take place amid longer term and already unfolding what we call the wave of automation. As you can see on the screen, the great lockdown will accelerate digitization numbers. So over the next 5 years, we estimate that the global workforce can absorb around 149 to 150 million new technology-oriented jobs. So let's take a quick look at some of the core jobs which are expected to be in demand in the immediate and long tail, post-COVID 2019 global scenario. As you can see, I have noted them down the right. So software development accounts for the largest single share of this forecast, and it's definitely going to be around. So I would strongly suggest, brushing up if you already have or picked up or already learned, or desire learning problem solving skills, maybe a few programming languages like .NET, C Sharp, Python, Java, definitely makes sense. And possibly pick up one to master, end to end. So if you have always wanted to pick up programming as a passion, this is probably the best time you'll ever get to learn and really put it into use to really advance your own career. Though software development is going to be around without doubt, but there are roles in related fields like network automation, architect, network automation development, cyber security, privacy protection, not to forget business intelligence with a very strong focus on blockchain as an architect or as an advisor or as a developer, machine learning, AI. I mean, these are also poised to grow substantially or rather exponentially, in fact, in some of the economies. So just to touch upon very briefly, let me quickly touch upon two of these which I feel are really poised for growth, in addition to, of course, software development. That is network automation development. What does that mean? So while designing and implementing infrastructure will always be important, but software and automation skills are becoming even more in demand as more and more organizations, in fact, and their businesses are getting disrupted, right? So you'll find a lot of solution providers, OEMs, specialist vendors, right? Even service vendors who are building, different service offerings or product offerings around automation software to help kind of offload these infrastructure related tasks for IT professionals. There'll be a massive need for this in the future. And cyber security, cloud security professionals. So the so-called new normal is also creating what we call security gaps for many businesses, right? That don't have the right expertise in place to handle IT security and governance, which has arguably never been more important as employees access sensitive applications from home, or as more businesses move their data off premises and into the cloud. So many businesses and solution provider organizations will be focusing on security, privacy, governance, maybe package them as a single, point-click wholesome solution in a post-COVID world, if they haven't started already, which will lead to more jobs in this area. So I strongly suggest that you take a good look at the list on the screen and map it to your core existing skill sets. And if you feel that you really need to specialize in one or more of them, right, you could better then look at different tools at your disposal, which kind of transitions me to the second point of it, that is building and nurturing what we refer to as a growth mindset, which the Stanford professor Carol Dweck defines as one that is focused on continual learning, improvement, through a willingness to try, fail, and inquire. Now, this growth mindset, right, it requires acquiring new skills, not just technical ones, but also soft skills to make a smooth transition into the new way of working. So as an organization, I'm working for Microsoft. So Microsoft is continuing to invest heavily in this global skills initiative. So I wanted to touch upon three important points here that you could really leverage. First is Microsoft Learn. So at Microsoft, we are building a learn-it-all culture where we aim to embrace curiosity, focus on being resourceful, and take your learnings and apply them for future success. So Microsoft Learn happens to be an integral part of our skilling experience. It's an absolutely free online learning platform that you can leverage today that kind of combines short, what we call step-by-step trainings, browser-based interactive coding, scripting environments, and task-based achievements to really help you advance your technical skills and prepare for different technical certifications as the next step. So you have the choice of choosing from Azure, which is our public cloud, to Microsoft 365 and productivity tools, not to forget Power Platform, which is no-code, low-code application development, and then Dynamics 365, which is our hosted ERP on cloud, and more, of course, are on offer. So we offer training that can help every one of you learn, from students, whether you're just recent pass outs or new job seekers, or even thorough professionals who are looking to really pivot your own careers. So the big advantage lies in the fact that learners and organizations can personalize their experience as well by kind of building and sharing, these customized training collections. You can use bookmarks to kind of, easily find and return to the content, And throughout the learning journey, you can also earn points, what we call different levels. You can unlock, badges. You can easily share them within your network or on social media, for example, on LinkedIn. So we are continuing to invest in the Microsoft Learn platform, where learners will find more than 225, in fact, learning paths. So a learning path may be defined as a, simply put, interactive, hand-on collection of modules that are organized around specific roles and technologies. And you have the fantastic choice over 1,000 plus modules. Microsoft Learn experience is just a module, is basically a course that kind of contains videos, labs, and articles for you to further explore and really master a particular topic. You also have the ability of kind of having the training of role-based learning for 17 different roles. For example, you desire becoming a software developer, or you want to become an AI engineer, or you already have a little bit of knowledge in data science, but you really want to upskill yourself for becoming a data scientist. Or just simply put, let's say you have an overall understanding of network and basic databases and architectures and VMs, but you really want to get certified as a solutions architect. So you have all these role-based learnings available. And then you have training aligned to write 35 different Microsoft certifications, which brings me to the second point, Microsoft certifications. Now, Microsoft certifications show that you're really keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. And certifications, as you can see on the screen, right, basically are divided across 4 pillars based on your areas of interest, where your passion lies, what your choices are. So for us, we have Azure, Microsoft 365. You can choose between Dynamics 365, and of course, Power Platform, which is geared towards low code application developers. I also wanted to touch upon the quantification effects of certification, because this is something that I often hear from my friends in social circles when people reach out to me one-on-one on weekends, or every time I interact with a youngster or someone who's just passed out and looking for a job, or really pondering whether he or she should get trained and then get certified or not. They often say, "Sir, I would love to get kind of trained, but pursue certifications like yourself and have these beautiful, colorful badges. But tell me honestly, does it really add any value?" So short answer, which I always reply, is 200% yes. It adds tremendous value in career positioning, career potential, and also in propelling career either within your own organization or across. Now, so really wanted to share a few hard numbers here so that it kind of quantifies. So Microsoft, in fact, recently did a survey, and they surveyed Microsoft certified professionals, MCPs, for a white paper. Basically, the purpose of the white paper was to understand, comprehend, and analyze the actual benefits of earning a certification. So 65% of the IT professionals surveyed said they received a very positive impact on their professional image, their outward image, the reputation after obtaining a certification. 15% folks who were out of a job but then did a certification immediately found a new job. 12.5% earned a promotion immediately or within a time frame of, let's say, give and take 6 months. So in short, if I am to summarize, according to the survey, 86%, I repeat once again, 86% of IT professionals say they would recommend certification to a colleague when discussing their career or wanting to advance in IT. So certification exams, you can right now take online during the COVID time, and you can easily share your achievements on your own LinkedIn profile. So another very significant point that I just wanted to kind of touch upon is that we are making certain exams, like 13 Microsoft certification exams, in fact, 5 fundamental exams, and 8 role-based certifications available at a significantly discounted fee of around $15, available to those who self-attest that the employment has been impacted by COVID-19. So this represents a pretty large discount in the price of exams that typically cost more than $100. So you can schedule an exam from September to the end of the year, and you will have until March 31st, 2021 to complete the exam. Thirdly, for you to leverage, data and analytics. I mean, getting certified is good, getting trained is good, but to really leverage, how do you leverage data and analytics to better understand in-demand skills and jobs? That's a very important associated point. And how do you do that? So using a platform that is at your disposal, LinkedIn. So there are 3 key things that I really want to touch upon within this particular point. And again, from my own personal experience and perspective, I absolutely love and leverage them heavily. for my own career advancement. So hence, wanted to really share them with all of you. Firstly, you must create a complete profile on LinkedIn. So here I'm not talking about one of those profiles where you have an image so that you yourself cannot recognize, right? And it's never been updated and so on. But I'm talking about a filled in, completely filled in profile, updated with all your education, training, certifications, different maybe interest areas, job roles and details. I would strongly recommend, everyone definitely attending this session. If you do not have a LinkedIn profile, you should make one today. And having a profile again is not enough, right? To build up a strong following, a good connection, definitely networking. All three of these, following, connection, networking, all three of these, right? These are very necessary to build up what we call a personal brand, right? And this results in career progression. And you must then post relevant, updates related to your own skill sets and interests. For example, I have an all-star profile on LinkedIn, right? With a following of a little less than 17,000 as it stands today. So I ensure I post relevant updates several times daily. It could be on different, concepts on cloud infrastructure, on data services, interesting posts from within Microsoft and external on AI, machine learning, blockchain, things on which I'm working, right? And I ensure that I post relevant updates several times daily and connect with like-minded folks, right? So it's the interaction also that matters. The second point is something which is, kind of LinkedIn operationalized the world's first what we call economic graph to track workforce trends and provide a window into the emerging skills gaps. The economic graph is basically a digital representation of the global economy based on more than 700 million professionals. You have 50 million companies, 11 million job listings, 36,000 defined skills, and 90,000 schools. In short, if I'm to summarize, it's basically all the data on LinkedIn and shows available jobs, the desired skills, and the existing skills job seekers have. So you should definitely subscribe to LinkedIn's economic graph and take a good look at it as well, so that you're in line with what the demand skills are in the industry currently and how you can position yourself, right, to pick up the right set of skills. Thirdly, to help people pursue, jobs in these areas, definitely LinkedIn learning paths are also aligned with each of these roles. So each learning path you must check out on LinkedIn. It also includes a sequence of what we call video content designed to help job seekers develop the core skills needed for each role. So in short, having a fully filled in LinkedIn profile updated on your latest skill sets is not just a good to have now, but it's a mandatory must, I would say, for career opportunities and growth. And don't just stop there. Rather, learn, share regular updates, network with people for professional growth, maybe find a mentor, you have endless opportunities, which kind of brings me to a few nuggets which I kind of picked up in my own journey. I wanted to share and some observations around it as well. So a few key takeaways from my personal journey that I wanted to share. So the key takeaway from this slide is, how I pivoted my career every time I really wanted to grow and do something out of my comfort zone. So here the key factor, the key word is growing out of the comfort zone, and the role that training industry certifications played on this journey to kind of mold my career as it stands today. So as you see on the screen, right, I kind of represented it in a timeline feature, so it's kind of easy to comprehend and understand. So late 1990s, journey started when I was in a school in a city called Calcutta in India. So I ended up, learning Microsoft DOS. Basically, that was, the disk operating system, and later on Windows 95, which had just come out in 95. I love learning the command prompt, but needless to say, we couldn't do much on DOS. So I kind of started looking around, for more things to learn. So I came to know that, hang on, there is something, which is, making a lot of buzz. Very strong community around it. People told it's something you should really check out. It was called Linux kernel and the Linux operating system. So I was in school still then, and learning Linux was really fun. I learned a lot of things. I ended up doing a few years of Linux, kernel programming, GTK plus development. It's basically the GUI on Linux, right? And then I maintained and wrote a lot of blog posts. I maintained entire books, in fact, at LDP. So LDP is the official Linux documentation project, which is still up and live today as well. And then eventually, thought it would be great to get a formal training on Linux administration, right? So, In those days, we had Red Hat just started out with a partnership with NIT, and I took up a Linux, Red Hat Linux administration and security training and got certified. So while all of this was going on, right, I had to clear my, of course, class 12 CBSE board exams in 1999, and then kind of decided taking a 1-year sabbatical before I really kind of deep dive into a 4-year degree course in engineering. So what I did was I went back to learning both Visual Basic, C 6.0 at that time it was, and Visual C++ 6.0. It used to come in a package called Visual Studio, in fact, in those days. Readily built applications, and then, thought it's good time to enroll myself to a more of a formal, kind of an instructor-led training, because there were some gaps in my understanding. So what I did was I enrolled back then in something called a Microsoft Certified Solution Developer, MCSD training. Also, at the same time, when I was doing an MCSD, I also enrolled for a Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, MCSE training back those days. So these were different, set of certifications from Microsoft. So MCSD kind of focused on programming using Visual Basic, and MCSE kind of focused on networking using, we had in those days Microsoft NT Workstation 4.0. I mean, 2000 had yet not been released. So these were the two most well-known, well-recognized, and well-respected in the industry kind of certifications from Microsoft at that time. So I took up those courses in a training center, slogged through the nights, did a lot of R&D, definitely cleared all 7 papers that were required to become an MCP, MCSD, MCSE. In fact, I remember someone asking me once, why on earth would you do both? I mean, people do MCSD or MCSE, why both? So I had 2 reasons for that in my mind. First is I kind of wanted to check out which I'm truly liking, programming or networking, because I was still not decided on whether I would become a professional developer or a networking engineer. And I was still kind of open to exploring other options. Then in 2001, 2005, I kind of finished my informatics and computer science engineering in Moscow from Technical University. And then Moscow became one of the largest installed bases of Sun Microsystems Solaris operating system, which today, Sun later got acquired by Oracle, of course. And thanks to one of my professors, I did an internship and some part-time work at Sun in Moscow, and also learned a bit of Java as well, because Java was a big rage kind of back in those days. Post that, I kind of worked in a few consulting firms in London and elsewhere, and then kind of eventually wanted to really find a job that kind of allows me to marry this knowledge of IT, programming, operating systems, administration, but with my people skills, because I love being around people. So I was always kind of meeting people, speaking to people, trying to find the career, correct career fit, bugging folks for mentorship and so on. So folks then advised me that, hang on, you should become more or less of as an enterprise architect, or have you heard of something like an high tech or software consulting? I mean, those were unknown, words during these days, right? So we did not have cloud at all. So, and software was hardly around, people used to sell kind of packaged software. So how do you do software consulting? How do you do high-tech consulting? So I did, kind of while I was exploring options on my own, but I then did a few more trainings and certifications around soft skills. I picked up Six Sigma Green Belt. I went back learning to PHP, Linux, MySQL. So finally came a period wherein I worked for a product or a bunch of like Microsoft product kind of based firms, and eventually landed in an organization where I learned that Microsoft was working on a product called, in those days, we used to call it Windows Azure Infrastructure Services. Very long name, which eventually became Windows Azure, and which eventually kind of became what is called Microsoft Azure and simply known as Azure today. So in parallel also, Amazon had at that time rolled out their own cloud platform, AWS, and I was also a bit of, working there and got certified also. So fast forward kind of, I worked on Amazon. I became an AWS certified solutions architect. I was also 3 years in Oracle, so I became one of the first in India region to also become officially certified on the OCI architect platform. So while this was all going on, I was also learning Azure on the side, by the way. So I got to know about the AI business school at that time. It had just got launched. I came to know about the MVA academies, the channels. I was doing a lot of self-learning. I got the Azure architect expert level also certification done. So as you see on the screen, right, I decided putting that up because it requires 2 exams, which needs to be done, right? It includes a comprehensive theory and that's basically conceptual level details, and a comprehensive lab setup exam as well, where you really need to do lab tasks in the exam. And then one fine day back in 2019, I kind of got a call from Microsoft, pertaining to a role of a cloud solution architect, but focusing more on the data and AI that I had applied for. and whether I would be interested in a round of interviews. Needless to say, I was very excited. So I took the opportunity, cleared the highly technical but very exciting, few rounds of interviews and kind of joined Microsoft. So now I basically want to pause here for a quick second and rewind on what I kind of just now mentioned, that I got trained, I practiced a lot on my own. I got certified on Microsoft Azure to become a Microsoft certified Azure Solutions Architect expert level, which includes passing fully, lab exams as well, while I was working in another organization. So this certification, along with my past experience, really effectively kind of opened doors for me, even within inside Microsoft, from landing up the interview, really, setting up the next levels, and then eventually joining, right? And I was in fact very confident in my interviews, knowing that I was well prepared, and having a highly kind of a respected Microsoft certification up my sleeve already. So it massively impacted not only my psyche and my confidence, but also really enabled me to show that I'm serious and I have a growth mindset, because though I was working for another organization, yet I was learning continuously on the side. So since then, of course, I have had immense learning, picked up lots of training, certifications, thereby accelerating growth. And recently I got interested in understanding also right now blockchain, its applications, also taking up some additional training on the side to become a blockchain developer and blockchain certified blockchain architect as well. So if I'm to kind of sum up or the slide kind of in a few I would say sentences, I mean, basically what I figured out, that is, you need to reinvent. I mean, definitely first invent, reinvent, and keep repeating the process till you find what you are kind of truly passionate about, and what truly kind of makes you happy, what you truly love, right? And that's the crux of finding out the different tools at your disposal, finding out what really fits your particular role, finding out what specifically you want to do, aspire. So that passion has to be there. That's like the precursor of everything, right? You need to be really passionate about things which you really want to do. Having said that, you need to grow a very strong growth mindset, because having passion really matters a lot, and that's good. That's a positive thing to have, but it will not matter much if you don't have a growth mindset. That is the ability to take things on the stride, roll with the punches, unskill yourself, which is a very difficult thing to do for the mental, for the mind, right? And be open to learning different things, as you see on the timeline. It's not just about learning a piece of technology, but also unlearning things of the past and kind of learning it, right? Definitely that's where formal training, certifications, definitely helps quite a lot, in fact. And definitely, coming down to, focusing on the journey and not on a fixed, destination. That's also extremely key, because this is something which kind of, I learned while on the journey, that though it's good to focus on the different milestones, but, you should not be fixated on one particular, milestone as an achievement, because end of the day, as your life goes on, you mature, you learn better things, new things open up, right? So focus on the journey. The joy of life lies in the journey, right? It's not on a fixed kind of a destination. That's like extremely key. So that's when your mind opens up, you have a very growth mindset, and you reinvent yourself. It's like a full circle back. That kind of summarizes, my quick session, and I wanted to quickly move on to Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free, and I would love to take a few of them. So I see a lot of comments around it. I see a lot of highs. Hi to Anamika, hi to Tina's. So yeah, so Microsoft Learn is wonderful. The badges give a sense of achievement. That's a very, very valid point by Aditi. Absolutely, it's key. It's like, it's really wonderful, because it's not just about yourself, but you can really share it within your own network, on LinkedIn, primarily on social media. It gives you a sense of achievement. Very, very true. And you unlock more levels to it, right? That's really like phenomenal. I mean, even when the first time I started learning something on a learning path, it really opened up a lot of things for me. I just finished my kind of Hadoop certification. The question is, and I wish to work on a project on COVID-related data. Where can I access? You definitely have a lot of access to, raw data on COVID-related. In fact, I recently worked as a part of a project where I needed to download, let's call it, a more or less approximate correct amount of COVID patient data and hospital data So I downloaded it from a site. I could possibly share it with you later on. And good question by Priya. I mean, hi Subhashish, how this certification helps us in getting our dream job. So again, it's not a one-step process, right? It's not that you do a certification and immediately you land up, but all of the other things, right? Technically, you need to align yourself. You need to be first, again, going back to the three principles, very passionate about that. You need to have that growth mindset to be just trained and really build some hands-on skills. So when the person is interviewing, you can see that you are passionate about it, your interest lies in those area, and yet you're also making an effort to get certified, right? All three of them, when falls together, opens up opportunities. Because at the end of the day, right, opportunity really you should take and only land up in the laps of those who are really well prepared. So success only comes to those who are well prepared for taking those opportunities, right? You have to make that effort. But definitely you should leverage LinkedIn, the economic graph. You should definitely leverage the learning paths and the certifications. uh, I will be writing an article on the same, what is the best practice to accommodate it all. Just do good time management and be passionate. That's the most. So if I take one single word out of an entire session, of course you have the tools available to you, but you have to be really passionate. As a fresher, how do I grow in this field? It's a question that I often hear, even on weekends when I'm talking to people. I should suggest start with the learning path. Maybe do a very foundational course on just the infrastructure or data or an AI, and then figure out where your interest areas cross. Because end of the day, you really need to be very picky, very choosy on picking up those areas that you master, where your passion lies. You cannot force yourself to become a really world-class data and AI expert if you're not passionate about writing code or a little bit of deep diving into, let's call it, AI models and building all of those, right? So as a fresher, I would say maybe do a couple of them. Again, on Microsoft Learn should be a starting point. Do a few kind of learning paths. They are free. You don't need to invest absolutely anything. Post that, check it out, which one is your kind of areas of interest, and maybe you do further study on that and then pick up from there. Very important, good question from Amandeep. I want to switch my stream from operations and management of data. How tough would it be, and what steps should I follow? Technically, it should not be, because if you have an operations and management background, you already have an automation workflow and data flow kind of a knowledge. All you need to do is map it to a specific set of technologies. For example, as a data architect, when I go and talk to companies, in fact, that's exactly what I do, right? I first ask them, can you explain the data flow? Because if I don't know how the data flows within that particular operational system, like a complex SCM system or a complex manufacturing system, you can't make or architect the entire thing, right? So you have one half of the knowledge or one quarter of the knowledge. All you need to build is maybe do a learning path on the data platform and aspire to become the DP200, DP201, which is your Microsoft certified Azure data engineer. That will be the perfect fit for you. You really don't need to be a database expert, rather a data platform expert. That is what you should, like in very brief, that's what I can recommend or I should suggest. As a non-STEM, what could be the best way to gain some relevant experience post the certifications? Easiest way to do, and which Microsoft provides you in quantity quite a lot of GitHub projects are there. All you need to do, have an Azure portal, a simple, let's say your named subscription, do a simple GitHub, download, let's say, I'm not code, I would say, some structures and some basically points from there, how to set up different hands-on on all of that, and basically build up a little bit of relevant, maybe one project. So you can then, gain some relevant experience. So when you go to a, let's say a meeting or to an interview and you say people that, what, I am kind of certified on the Azure 300, AZ 300, but I also have done one project in which I've deployed an application both in a VM, that is in a single application instance, or as a serverless manner, maybe in AKS. And I know how to, kind of configure, the application layer load balancers and the different load balancers, the different layers, make zone redundant copies of that setup. So, that gives you very good even correlation to your certification, right? And all of this is available online or via learning path, because the learning path, again, as I mentioned, right, has sandbox environments, which you don't even need to spend money. You can create all of these, test all of this, and post a certain amount of time, this goes away. What advice would you give to somebody on a break and aiming to get back in the tech industry? Certifications, definitely, because it will help you stand apart and quickly move ahead. But then again, a little bit of experience is needed. You can do, again, self-paced courses. LinkedIn or definitely helps self-learning, or I personally do a lot of Udemy and Pluralsight courses as well. Are these courses self-paced? If you're talking about MS Learn, absolutely self-paced. You can do it at your leisure time and unlock achievements and get the badges. Definitely that's very, very important. And regarding also after learning, how many years of experience required to becoming an expert in the field? That really varies from people to people and the use case and the expertise you're talking about. So if you're designing, let's say, a remote sensing architecture, or let's call it an RTOS, that's a real-time operating systems environment for a project like NASA, which is a very complicated thing to do, right? I mean, it just qualifying as an architect will not help, because you need to have the cross-level expertise of the industry. So in fact, I was recently, speaking to a young lady yesterday. In fact, we had a discussion on a very interesting, job or career discussion or decision that she has made. She comes with a very lot of creative bent of mind, but she wants to kind of, let's call it, revolutionize or disrupt the supply chain management, right? And specifically in a high couture fashion and retail. Now that's a combination of non-tech plus high tech, because how do you disrupt SCM? The best way is to do using blockchain, right? But you need to have then deep expertise of, at least a profound knowledge of how fashion industry works, because fashion industry then sources materials, right? The SCM part of it does that. So if you are tending or applying blockchain to SCM to disrupt it and revolutionize, you need to have four then knowledges, as we see. Just being an architect will not help you. You need to understand blockchain, the application, the industry, and the specific challenge that you want to solve, right? So these are a couple of things, right? And definitely, to take a look at GitHub for tech folks. For non-tech folks, start from the learning parts, and that's the best, things around it. So that's, kind of, the questions which I see. I mean, please feel free to post any further questions you have or get in touch with us. And really, thank you as well for sharing your time and really discussing these. If no further questions, I believe we can end this session. So thank you so much again for spending your time, investing your time with us, and we look forward definitely seeing you trained and getting certified as well. So thank you and take care and goodbye.